Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jaya Kula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are.
How do we navigate when in conflict with somebody where the perspectives that both people have are so different that they can't even agree on what's wrong? I see this playing out politically and culturally also.
Ma said everything is right from its own perspective. Anandamai Ma said that many times. So if someone says something really racist or homophobic or misogynist, from their perspective, that's true. From your perspective, it's probably not true. And you have to decide if there's an opening or not. When we're talking about on the world stage, I think one of the grave mistakes that a lot of our former Democratic presidents made is assuming that there's a way to compromise and make common cause even with people whose views are radically different from one's own. And we're talking about not just their political views, but their moral views and their ethical views and their knowledge of history. There's no way to talk to someone who doesn't want to hear what you have to say and who doesn't want to move from a position that's not based in fact. And in that case, there's nothing to do but walk away. We have limited energy as human beings. So we have to put our energy where it's useful. And you've heard me say that a lot of times, that I like to be useful. I've always just wanted to be useful. And I've gotten better as I get older at discerning when I cannot be useful. None of us are useful all the time. When I first started teaching, I thought, I can be useful to anyone who walks in the door. You know what? That's not true. I can be useful to a lot of people who walk in the door, but not everyone. So these are lessons in humility, right? And they're also lessons in realism and being practical and having a practical, humble sense of what your actual energetic capacity is. In any situation, I'm going to ask myself, is my energy being used here in any way that is in alignment with what I want to see happen in the world, right? If it isn't, there's no point badgering people. Someone that was in an old spiritual community that I was in, I knew she was Jewish, but I didn't know what exactly her background was. But it turns out she's like the archetypal Zionist, and she has a lot of relatives who live in Israel, who are in the IDF, etc. And she's very committed to that view. And she wrote me well-meaningly within the first 6 months after October 7th. She wrote to me because she cared about me. I knew that. But what she wrote to me was, everything you're saying is wrong. You're spreading false information. I know because I have relatives who are serving in the Israeli armed forces. They're telling me what's really happening. Now, that's sort of a juncture where you suss out what the energy level, what's going on with the energy there. And I realized there's absolutely no opening for me here. None. At the same time, I realized this person was actually doing this because they cared about me. So I dropped it. It was just, okay, leave them alone, because my energy, which is limited because I'm a human being, is going to get used in a different way, in a more useful way. And I think the same goes for our relationships and friendships too. We have to make tough decisions sometimes. And maybe there's an opening and maybe there's not. And then it becomes a matter of making those mature, hard decisions about what you're going to do. Sometimes we can live with the disjuncts between us and other people. And we're just like, okay, they think this way, I think that other way. That even applies sometimes when we think other people are operating out of fixation. We can live with other people's fixations because we know we have them too. So unless we have a mental illness, we're not expecting perfection from other people. nor are we expecting to agree about everything. There would be mental illness involved if we thought that way. At the same time, there are those junctures that are non-negotiable or non-navigable. That just happens. And sometimes that happens after we've known people for a long time. I had a friendship like that. There was somebody I knew for years and years, but we'd never had an argument. And then something happened. Basically, what happened was I broke up with someone. She was really mad at me for having broken up with this person and treated me really badly and said some incredibly mean things to me. And that was it for me. I saw something that I hadn't seen before, and it was non-negotiable. The sort of severe lack of compassion and realism. I mean, people break up with people. You really can't get enraged at somebody for breaking up with somebody else and be considered reasonable. So as far as I'm concerned, you may be disappointed or sad or grieving, but this person treated this like I just committed a capital crime. Anyway, it's going to be different for different people. It's not like there's a rule to follow. The thing that's non-negotiable for me might be negotiable for you. You have to decide this personally. But at some point, if you can't agree and you can't negotiate, you have to say to yourself, okay, can I live with this? Do I want to live with this? And stop talking about it. Stop processing it. Like if you decide to stay with somebody who you have a serious disagreement with about something, you have to stop talking about it. Right? You have to stop trying to figure it out. If it's not figurable, outable, if it's not resolvable, certain things just aren't. Well, let's say somebody smoked and they think there's nothing wrong with it and they don't believe that cigarettes cause cancer because I don't know why, because they never read anything. That would be a pretty serious thing. Like it would involve someone doing something that smelled up your house that was harmful to their health and that they were doing without real understanding of what it might be doing to them. But it could be something that you decide that you could live with, right? It would be different for different people. If the person's just adamant, I'm going to keep smoking, I don't care what you say. If that's the case, then you have to stop talking about it. You either deal with it or you leave. That's the mature thing. Making the assumption that if you just keep working the problem, it'll solve. Yeah. Relationships aren't engineering.
Like a basic question, but I feel like if I lose my attachments, then maybe I won't achieve the things I want to achieve and push myself. This would just be one example, but what about if you're like curious about having kids and if you just let go of that, it might never happen? Or if you want to write a book and you're just like, well, who cares? And you might never push yourself to do this thing.
Think about like a little engine, a cart that's got a little engine on the back and it's trying to get uphill. The engine's trying to push it uphill. It's pushing. Then the cart runs out of gas. It just poops out. It got 3/4 of the way up the hill and then it pooped out. So it achieved something. Yay. But think of that same cart just going along on a more level path or even going downhill in a more easeful way. It has so much more energy. It's not wasting its energy. And so it's moving more smoothly. It hasn't stopped moving. It's just moving more smoothly and has more energy. What happens when you lose your attachment to achieving is that you have more energy to do things in a different way, in a different energetic mode. So yes, you'll no longer feel the anxious, competitive, envious energy feeling of having to achieve. Yeah, you won't feel that. But you'll have all that energy back that's all bound up in all those feelings. And you'll actually be able to do much more. You just won't have the same feeling about it. So you'll do things because you want to, out of a sense of curiosity, because it's pleasurable, because you enjoy it. You'll work hard. If you want to work hard, you'll get so much more done because your energy isn't tied up in all those repetitive emotions and feelings worrying about yourself, worrying if you're good enough, trying hard because you don't know if you're good enough, thinking you're a failure, celebrating a success in some hysterical way. I swear and I promise. Someone was just saying right before Satsang about how much I get done. But I keep a very minimal to-do list. In fact, I used to never keep a to-do list. Now I do, but it's very minimal. And I just go along doing things as they occur to me. I'm not worrying too much, and I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. So all that energy is freed up and more gets done.
I have a friend who I've been friends with him for a decade, and he's caught in the throes of addiction and alcoholism and drugs, and he's not in a good way. I'm just curious, is there a role for actively trying to detach with love from people that are no longer good for you, or just like making the efforts to really actively detach?
Sure. So, if we're talking about something like Al-Anon or Nar-Anon, like the whole detach with love, they invented that, right?
Right, yeah.
So what they mean by that is don't play the role of the savior in somebody's life. At the same time that you aren't berating them or blaming them or disparaging them because of what they're doing. That means that if you have to leave, you say, I still care about you, or I still love you, or I still think of you. I want the best for you, but I can't be here right now. It's very simple. It's not complicated.
Not easy.
The reason it's not easy is because we have embodied and internalized a lot of feelings about people should not do that to themselves. It's their fault, and they should be productive, and they're causing trouble for everybody, and they're so self-destructive, and blah, blah, blah. But they're trying to solve the same problem all of us are trying to solve. It's a burden to be an addict or an alcoholic. It's such a burden. The only thing that people in that condition deserve from us is our sympathy and our compassion for what they have to go through. One of the things about this particular tradition, and particularly the way that I'm teaching here, is that we are doing the work to get in touch with our actual hearts, our actual compassion, our actual kindness. We're not having rules about how to behave, and we're not faking it till we make it. We have tools to actually get in touch with the heart's wisdom and with that flow of compassion. And that might take a long time. But when we get into those circumstances where, like you say, it's hard, we go into what's called the heart space. This is a zone. It's like a temple or a cave. It's sometimes called the cave of the heart. And we learn to get in touch with that natural wisdom and natural devotion and natural compassion to whatever extent we can. That's the work that we're doing. We're making it real. We don't have to think in advance about how to respond to anyone. We don't have to plan out our responses. We can be in the moment and actually feel like we want the best for this person. Feel actual kindness. That's really what this is about. So again, that might take a long time, but it's hard to get into that level of spontaneity and to move your learned patterns out of the way. One of the things also about this tradition is it's entirely destructive. We're not cultivating anything because everything is already there in full measure. We're just trying to destroy the things that are in the way of natural devotion, natural compassion, natural kindness, natural concern for others. Those things are already there in full measure. We can't cultivate them. We can just remove what's blocking us from feeling them. So I think really the essence of why this is a Shaivite tradition is not because we only relate to Lord Shiva, because that's not true, but it's because it focuses on destroying obstacles and impediments to us being just relaxed in the natural state and being able to spontaneously be kind to people without thinking about it, without planning it. What should I say? What should I do? The normal things that people do. I feel really pissed off. How can I be kind?
I've been learning a lot about grief recently. What are your thoughts about grieving? I mean, it's universal, so.
Yeah. Well, one of my thoughts is let it rip. let it really express itself fully, and then it kind of cleans everything out. If we let grief just take its natural course, and we don't try to control it, or we don't judge ourselves for how long we're grieving, then it kind of washes us up on a clean beach at the end. It does have an end. It doesn't mean that we might not feel sad if we think someone's not here, but that actual grieving part will dissipate if we really let it have its way with us. The other thing about grief is, like you said, it's universal. And so if we're just letting it happen, it can really bring us into tremendous intimacy with other people. It's something that we can recognize in the midst of feeling it. We can recognize that other people also have this experience, but it's not even an intellectual process. There's just something about grieving that makes us feel more intimate with others if we really let it happen. It's a difficult feeling. It's not really just one feeling. It's really multi-textured. Also, there's something very beautiful about grief too. I've always thought.
That's what I'm finding.
Yeah, it's a very rich situation. Satsang with Shambhavi is produced by Jaya Kula, a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. If you enjoyed listening, please help us keep this podcast and many other teachings open to all by making a monthly or one-time donation. Visit jayakula.org to make a donation and explore more of our offerings.